Welcome to the Robert Hunt Financial Market Update. It's your host, Robert Hunt, where I look at the week's financial news that can be a bit confusing, misleading, and take you off course, help to make it actionable, understandable, and clear. What a week. Whew, therefore, what a show. Excellent lineup for you, the listener. We're actually going to get in ever so briefly to Trump accounts. I've had some questions this week, so if it's on some folks' minds, I bet it's on your mind. I'll just give a teaser for next week's episode. We may have secured an interview with a preeminent state attorney to delve further into some nuances of these accounts that you may not be aware of. But we'll talk a little high level today and then get specific next week. We then talk about AI chatbots and their use as financial advisors. We then look at just a swindle, and hopefully looking at this swindle can help us spot them in the future and avoid them. And then we close with a Bitcoin blunder, they say, a Wall Street Journal. But let's start at the top. Trump accounts, what are they? So in the big, beautiful bill, it codified that these Trump accounts would be available for children. And one of the more shocking nuances of these accounts is that the federal government, if your child was born between January 1st of 2025 and December 31st of 2028, they're a U.S. citizen, the U.S. Treasury will give $1,000 into this account. And family, parents, grandparents, kids themselves can give up to $5,000 a year. And they don't need income to qualify for that contribution like Roths. And there's employer matching, which is very interesting. Your employer can match your contributions up to $2,500, tax-free. What are the nuances? Well, this is just one of the best things, if I could compliment it. You only get to invest in index funds. Ding, ding, ding. Wow. Who knew in 1976, if you told the great Jack Bogle that the federal government would mandate that index funds only allowed an account, he would be shocked. That's how far we've come. That's how far the movement has taken us. And then there are no early withdrawals. This money's locked until the child's 18. You do get tax-deferred growth. So it's like a traditional IRA. Now, when they turn 18, it converts into a standard traditional IRA with all the rules implied therein. Meaning they also have the flexibility to change the investments. And the money's there, it's theirs, and they could withdraw it, even though I wouldn't recommend it. There are a few qualified expenses like a first-time home purchase or up to $10,000 for higher education. But everything else they pull out will be a penalty and income tax. So these are interesting accounts. You can just Google it and sign up, or when you file your tax return, if you file a certain form with it, it'll signal to the Treasury to open these accounts for you. And hopefully, it hadn't happened yet. We're still so fresh here, but a Vanguard, a Fidelity, a Charles Schwab, you will be able to have these accounts for your children at these various places. So either Google, open Trump account online, or simply with your tax return, talk to your CPA, or when you use your TurboTax, fill it out. I think it's interesting. I think these are probably worthwhile accounts, and I will be chronicling my journey as I'm thinking about it. So let's start at the top here with the articles. Wall Street Journal by Peter Coy, headlined, "Why AI Chatbots Can't Be Trusted for Financial Advice, They're Sociopaths." Huh? Subheadline, "Today's large language models like ChatGPT don't have the training to act in users' best interest, but an MIT professor hopes to teach them how." Now, I got to tell you, I was a little suspicious when I read this, because when I thought to myself, this kind of sounds like human financial advisors. The article continues, "Should you use AI for financial advice? Andrew Lowe, a finance professor at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Sloan School of Management," which some sort of a feeder school for our beloved Texas A&M, perhaps. But he says large language models like Copilot or ChatGPT aren't suited to being used as financial advisors because they are the digital equivalent of sociopaths. Smooth, persuasive, and devoid of empathy. Now, I read that, I thought, I think you could accuse us as the financial advisors, humans, of being the same. So I would kind of disagree. I think this is a problem industry-wide. And if he's accusing the robots, I understand what he means. Empathy, of course. The large language models maybe haven't gotten quite there yet, but they're getting pretty close. Some data to back up how prolific people are now using these things. This past August, a survey of 11,000 individual investors in 13 countries commissioned by eToro, they found that 19% were already using ChatGPT-style AI tools. Okay, that's up from 13% in 2024. So he says the AI people are using now can be dangerous, especially if the user isn't fully aware of the biases, inaccuracies, and other limits. Agreed there. I'll say this. If someone comes in with very limited or no financial knowledge and then presumes that the ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok will somehow guide them, so far they can't do that. There is a little bit of baseline knowledge that you have to have in order to even ask the correct prompting questions and in order to know what information to give the chatbot. So there are some ideas here. I think what will be interesting, this is one project of many. This Andrew Lowe, his goal, the article explains, is to develop an AI financial advisor that's a true fiduciary, namely an entity that always puts the client's interests first and tailors its advice to their particular needs, including emotional needs. He thinks it will take something less than 4 more years. Well, I hope he does it. I hope it works. There is a real need for objectivity in the financial advice space. I have found it is quite scarce. And so if technology can do it, bring it on. I have found these tools to be very helpful and a much safer place to ask financial questions than walking into your local bank or just calling someone who you know to be a financial advisor and saying, hey, I've got a couple $100,000. What do you think I should do? I would much rather someone talk to the AI chatbot first rather than calling a major bank or major investment house. Or you just don't know what door you're walking into, and you don't know what you don't know. That's the level of ignorance sometimes we have in certain domains. I don't know what I don't know. And the garage door repairman comes to my house. I have these feelings. I have these inklings. He tells me I need an entirely new garage door. I just hit a basketball into it. My gut tells me probably not. However, I'm just using my gut. I eventually, don't worry, got a second opinion, and he laughed at the first opinion, which was just this entire overhaul the whole system because there's a little dent in it. We put a little, $100 fix and done. Is so helpful for me to see. Yeah, with personal finances, people have they have these feelings, these gut feelings. They don't have the knowledge, the requisite knowledge to actually push back on advice, challenge either the person or the LLM. I am hopeful that the day will come when we can truly look. And I actually think that the frontier models today are great places to start. I'd say Gemini is pretty good. ChatGPT, pretty good. Where they mess up is not understanding the humans that they're serving their whole financial picture, because the human, not the bot, the human has failed to adequately equip them. And when the bot gives an incorrect answer, the human doesn't know it. So the bot's usually right. It's just we haven't fed them the right info. So very helpful article. I had to chuckle a little bit because some of the accusations against the AI bot I thought could easily be leveled against the humans. And we're going to talk about a human next that really took their investors on a wild ride. Headline, he vowed to revive Radio Shack and Pier 1 investors. And Pier 1, period. Investors say they were swindled. So this is Tai Lopez. He was a famous internet personality for a season. And I still remember watching one of his videos where he's walking through his library, talking about knowledge. You see a Ferrari, he's doing the thing, and maybe you get a chuckle out of it, but turns out he parlayed, and this is very common, he parlayed his internet fame into fundraising for a company. So here we go. This gentleman decided, you know what, all these old brands that have fallen by the wayside, Pier 1 being one of them, Radio Shack being another, I'm going to raise a bunch of money from my followers. roll them up and here we go, kind of a private equity type deal. So he did Radio Shack, Pier 1, Dress Barn, Modell, Sporting Goods, Linens and Things. He was going to turn them into e-commerce winners. And he wound up violating a bunch of securities laws to do it. He made a bunch of promises that I want to read this one to you. So just imagine this gentleman, he drives a Ferrari. He's got a rags to riches story. I think he grew up in a mobile home in California. His dad was in jail. He kind of finds a way to work with an insurance company. He's good at sales. Boom, makes a little money. He can buy all the signaling items to promote that he's successful. And he's promising 20% returns. Red flag, red flag, red flag. How can you promise 20% returns now? People do it all the time who aren't fraudsters. Okay, that's not a guarantee, but boy, howdy. That would be pretty nice, wouldn't it? Some of these people got gift cards for investing. This guy got a $10,000 Pier 1 gift card. And the moment they started investing, they got monthly checks, big old monthly checks. So guess what this guy raised? $230 million from hundreds of mostly small investors. I'll say that again. This guy raised $230 million. Blew my mind. Well, no surprise perhaps to you, but these fixed payments he was paying out to his investors, he was really just taking, old investor money, new investor money, paying the old investors off. And it was a Ponzi scheme. That's the nature of a Ponzi scheme. You're taking in the new money to pay off the old investors, and everyone thinks all is well. And oh, by the way, he communicated on his show, we're doing great. We're doing great. We're making money. He does all these just heartbreaking interviews with his investors who made comments saying, yeah, he said, this is a Nelson Rowe of New Iberia, Louisiana. He's an 82-year-old retired real estate broker. He put in $300,000. He said the story sounded so good, they had all these brands. And that's usually where it ends. There's on these investors, they usually don't have the sophistication to question how to run a successful business in the retail space. Hey, this guy's got a good story. He's promising me great returns. And it's a psychology experiment. He is promising something these people want to believe, namely that you can invest with no effort on your part and make a ton of money and be seen as intelligent in the eyes of your peers. All you have to do is pick up the pen and write the check. And all that angst, that societal angst, that financial angst, it'll go away. That's what they're promising. So he has a sit-down interview with Mark Cuban a while back. So he's partnering with someone else, Alex Meir, who had a successful exit on a dating app. He made $255 million. So this guy's associating with people seen as credible in various arenas. But what happened? None of it was real. Turns out he was lying on these calls, saying, we're doing great. We're doing awesome. They've later looked in and seen that none of these companies were profitable. None of them. So he was just faking it till he could make it. One of his quotes later on, he says, give as much money as you can. These deals are popping off and we can't get them fast enough. That's what Tai's saying. And it can be tempting in these stories to kind of say, oh, how could you fall for this? How could you believe that these guys could just pay these returns? Anyone can fall prey to this. You get an emotional connection with someone. You get a relational connection. You see they have all the signals. They offer you a wonderful story with great returns. The easy solution is obviously invest in index funds. If you can't help yourself, make your due diligence checklist so robust that you can't fall for it. Meaning, oh, great, I'm going to bring in an expert in the retail business who will walk alongside me if I were to co-invest in something like this. And if you can't find one, you can't do it. You got to bring in expertise, because what will take you 5 weeks and you won't learn anything, an expert in this space, former CEO of JCPenney or the former executive in any sort of online retail brand would probably be able to see through this in 5 minutes. Anytime someone says, oh, this is easy. Just e-commerce is easy. We'll buy these old brands. It's easy. One of the most important, Warren Buffett always talked about this, is circle of competence. And I never really got it. I always thought, but he's so smart and he seems to, everything he touches is gold. He's got the Midas touch. He would always bring us back to this circle of competence, and he wouldn't invest outside that circle. And what he confessed is certainly early on, his circle was very small. Very small. This is one of the most brilliant investors to ever walk the face of planet Earth. And he had to confess, I just don't get it on a lot of these deals. Well, if he doesn't get it, who are we? We have to be very careful about operating outside of our circle of competence. I'm okay with a little fun money, but that's it, just a little bit, just to scratch the itch, mainly to protect the main thing. So let us be careful. Let us get many advisors on these things. Be willing to hear what you don't want to hear, which is that, no, it actually takes a bunch of hard work. You can't just cut a check and get rich. That's very rare. And in closing, another little Bitcoin notation for us. Headline, a Bitcoin blunder for the ages, 40 billion accidentally given away. This shocked me, listener. Subheadline, a botched prize giveaway has landed a South Korean cryptocurrency exchange in hot water. Boy, howdy. I don't know. So there was this little prize. There were prizes given out for this exchange, and it was nothing. The total reward pot was about $425, or for my Korean listeners, 안녕하세요, 620,000 Korean won. So, but there was a fat finger error. So a staffer for this BitThumb, South Korea's #2 crypto exchange, they didn't distribute the 620,000 Korean won. They put in an error. They distributed 620,000 Bitcoins. That's more than $40 billion. Can you imagine? You intended to send someone 425. This is like a Venmo error on steroids. Yeah, I'll pay you for the lunch. It was great. Enjoyed it. Here's $30. Instead of sending them $30, it'd be like sending them 30 million. Oh, sorry, on Venmo I sent. We have so many controls in the Bitcoin space. In this particular instance, this company filled with professionals meant to send $425, they sent more than 40 billion. And it went out. So get this, the winner had 120 million in Bitcoins. That was the winner. They had various prizes they were giving out. 120 million. So various people got different amounts. Enough of these recipients immediately sought to sell or withdraw the Bitcoin that the market sank 17%, and they had to halt all the transactions for 30 minutes. The company said it reversed the transactions, or some of the recipients returned it for most of the Bitcoins, but wouldn't you know it, some of the people are kind of like, yeah, no, I got some Bitcoins, I sold them, the money's mine, good luck. So they've got, I think it's only good for them, only 9 million outstanding, who I think they're just begging people, hey, we're sorry, we sent you the wrong money. This crypto exchange is supposed to be one of the most trusted names in retail crypto markets. And this stuff can happen in the banking system. There are various rules that have been put in place. And oh, by the way, when banking was in the Wild West heyday, this stuff probably happened all the time. All the time. But there have been other instances, and this article explains it, where with crypto, they are still working through and ensuring the appropriate safeguards are in place for this medium of exchange, the store of value. Of course, potentially store of value, potential medium of exchange. Remember this IT worker from Wales? They lost 7,500 Bitcoin after a hard drive was mistakenly thrown away in an office cleanup. In 2021, the now bankrupt crypto leader BlockFi, they sent hundreds of Bitcoins to some users accidentally. So be careful, listener. Anytime you enter into a new space, doesn't mean you can't be brave and try new things and skin your knee a little bit. But be very careful. Be sure you're operating within your circle of competence and you know the safeguards that exist. And you know what to keep most top of mind, which is those cost low, that investing simple, and that time horizon long, because that is what's going to give you the best shot on your investing journey. Until next week.